So, have you ever looked around and wondered why certain people just seem to catch every single lucky break, while others struggle, despite giving it absolutely everything they have? Well, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating source document titled Time Brings Changes in Fortune by Shui Song. It gives us this incredibly compelling framework for understanding how timing, your personal baseline, and your perception all interact to create what we just casually call luck. We're going to break down exactly how you can position yourself for real success.
It's honestly a frustrating reality to think about, right? Why do brilliant minds and incredibly hard workers sometimes find their efforts just completely ignored? The source material poses this exact dilemma. It points out that even with the perfect plan, the sharpest mind, and a booming voice, sometimes all that effort literally feels like shouting into the void. You can have all the talent in the world, but if there's one crucial missing piece, you might still end up totally trapped in obscurity.
So, where's the answer? Well, it actually lies right out there in nature. Acting at the precise right moment, like a seed sprouting in the spring, brings life. It allows that life to thrive effortlessly. But if you force that exact same action at the wrong time, picture a seed trying to sprout in the dead of winter, it absolutely guarantees failure and inevitable demise. Nature just knows its seasons perfectly, and the text argues that as wise individuals, we have to learn to discern these opportune moments, rather than just blindly pushing forward all the time.
Now, this natural law translates directly into human value. The text states something profound. When the time has not come, gold appears as iron. Think about that for a second. If the timing isn't right, even the most inherently valuable things in the world are going to be perceived by everyone else as completely worthless iron. Your greatest talents, your absolute hardest work, your most innovative ideas, if the environment's timing is off, they're going to seem totally useless to the people around you. The world simply isn't ready to see your gold for what it truly is. Because the truth is, we don't exist in a vacuum. The text outlines three interconnected tiers of fortune: heaven's fortune, a nation's fortune, and finally, an individual's fortune. We really need to recognize that our personal trajectory is fundamentally tied to these massive macro timings. If the heavens, meaning the broader cosmic or global environment, or the nation itself are out of sync or going through a tough time, the text makes it incredibly clear that it's super hard for a single individual's fortune to turn favorably. We are just one part of a much larger ecosystem.
Section 1. The Illusion of Luck. Now, the text suggests something wild here. Apparent good fortune may actually be substantial misfortune. The author presents what feels almost like a cosmic trick. Heaven might test you by sending a sudden misfortune that's actually a hidden blessing in disguise, meant to forge your character. Or, on the flip side, it might grant you a quick, incredibly easy win, apparent good fortune, that just makes you lazy and ultimately becomes your absolute downfall. It completely flips our standard, everyday definition of luck totally on its head. So, fortune isn't just a fixed external event that happens to you. It is a transformative state. Whether a sudden change in your life is a total calamity or an amazing blessing actually depends entirely on your own mindset and perception. Say you lose a job. Is it a disaster, or is it the exact catalyst you've been waiting for to finally start that business you've been dreaming of? You are the one who decides how the fortune transforms.
Let's move to section 2, the formula for fortune.
The source distills this incredibly complex topic down into a really actionable three-part formula for fortune that we can all look at in our own lives. Number 1 is life structure, which basically refers to your base genes and starting materials. Number 2 is the gestation period. And number 3 is timing. Let's break these down one by one to see exactly how they interact to create the perfect conditions for success.
Okay, step 1 is life structure. Look, a wheat seed cannot grow into corn, just like an ordinary person cannot magically transform into a genius overnight. Before we do anything else, we have to honestly acknowledge our base materials. The source points out, a bit bluntly, but it's true, that a mouse's offspring will naturally dig holes, and an egg can only ever hatch into a chick. It's never going to be an eagle. You have to know exactly what kind of seed you're planting before you can expect a harvest. Absolute self-awareness is step 1. Step 2 is the gestation period, and this timeline beautifully shows how vastly different this can be depending on what your goals are. A peach tree takes 3 years to bear fruit. An apricot tree takes 4. But if you want the robust harvest of a walnut tree, you're waiting 18 years. The lesson here is that different types of success require vastly different periods of silent, patient preparation. You cannot rush an 18-year walnut timeline on a 3-year peach tree schedule. You really have to respect the gestation period of your own specific ambition.
And during that waiting period, you have to be doing the work. Miracles do not happen on the desert of the soul. You can't just stare at the barren desert of your mind waiting for a miracle to magically drop from the sky. The text insists that inspiration only favors the contemplative mind. It favors the person who's actively accumulating their basic materials, learning and growing during that quiet gestation phase. Passive waiting, that gets you absolutely nowhere.
Section 3. Preparing for the East Wind. Interestingly enough, the author references the ancient text, the I Ching, or the Book of Changes. Exactly 9 out of its 64 hexagrams are dedicated entirely to this specific art, cultivating your materials and patiently waiting for the opportune moment. This isn't just some flashy modern productivity hack. Humanity has studied and documented the vital importance of holding back and preparing for literally thousands of years.
But here is the big catch, the thing that ties the whole formula together. Without the wind rising, all prior preparations are meaningless. If you're perfectly prepared, you've got the best life structure, you've done the gestation, but the external wind just doesn't blow, your fire simply won't burn. However, if that east wind finally arrives and you haven't done that quiet, difficult gestation work, you miss the fortune entirely. You desperately need both. The internal preparation and the external timing have to collide. Section 4. Upgrading your life's trajectory. The text contrasts staying on your base path with actively forging a new one. On the old trajectory, you're limited by your base structure. A dog remains a dog, a commoner remains a commoner. Good timing there only makes a mediocre life a little bit smoother. But on the new trajectory, by actively fostering what the author metaphorically calls a higher, immortal structure or consciousness, good timing doesn't just smooth your path. It completely, fundamentally rewrites your destiny. Now, this shift in trajectory is incredibly relevant to us right now. We are currently living in the network era, a time where the rapid flow of information is just totally unprecedented. The source notes that one day's information today easily surpasses what used to take a whole year to gather. And because of this, old systems and outdated ways of thinking are actively disintegrating right around us. This rapid change acts as a massive catalyst. Developing a new consciousness to absorb all this information is exactly what allows us to shape those higher dimensional lives and finally break free of our old, limited trajectories. The source ultimately advises us to align with the international system and embrace this higher-tier lifestyle. By taking in this massive flow of new era information and aligning yourself with these expansive, elevated ways of thinking, you position yourself perfectly to catch that east wind. You're actively upgrading your fundamental materials so that when the timing inevitably hits, the fortune you reap is going to be immense. The text tells us the new era has already arrived and the east wind is blowing all around us right now. But the real question, the one you have to look inward and ask yourself today is this: have you actually put in the hidden gestation time? Are your materials truly ready to catch the wind when it sweeps through your life?